There has been a significant number of EU citizens have been refused to entry to the United Kingdom since Brexit. We're going to look into this more from The Guardian, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from The Guardian with the headline that the fivefold rise in the number of EU citizens have been refused entry to the UK since Brexit. The Home Office data reveals the impact of the end of freedom of movement and raises questions over border force hostilities. So, I think this was to be obviously. To say obviously really isn't it? It's not really the right word, but I have to say this is to be expected, unfortunately, due to Brexit. We already know that it's hard enough for British citizens to come to Europe now. It's much more difficult for them. It's more unnecessary waiting times, more paperwork, more just other so many issues that are piling up from our side. But we don't really look at it from the other side of the spectrum. Those from the EU who want to travel, visit, or whatever that means to come to the UK, it's just as much harder for them. And now, as we see from this headline, there's been a lot that have been refused to come to the UK as well now, which is also just as frustrating. And this is helping no one. This is helping no one, putting up these unnecessary barriers whatsoever. Nobody's benefiting whatsoever from this. Which is why I've even the more reason we need to rebuild closer ties with the European Union and reduce the red tape, and eventually, hopefully, possibly rejoin the European Union at some point in the future. It will be a long time before that happens, but we have to have some optimism and some hope, because whether Brexiteers like it or not, we're a European country. Just because we're not in the EU doesn't mean we're not a European country. They are our neighbours. You can't move the island further away from them. They're always going to be our neighbours, and we always want to maintain good and strong and healthy relationship with them. So the number of EU citizens refused entry to the UK since Brexit has increased fivefold, the Home Office figures have now shown. In the first 3 quarters of 2019, just over 2,200 people from the EU were turned away at the border, compared with 11,600 in the first 3 quarters of 2023. Since the last full year before COVID lockdowns and curtailed travels and the UK's exit from the EU in 2020, the number of German nationals turned away has increased fivefold, from 80 in the whole of 2019 to 411 in the year ending in September 2023. The number of French people turned away at the border has increased from 92 to 426 over that same period. The data lays bare the impact of the end of the freedom of movement after Brexit, but also renews questions about the hostility shown by border force officials given the agreement between the EU and the UK to allow 6 on-free travels for all citizens with a 90-day limit and a 180-day period for British citizens travelling to the continent. So there has been questions about, are the border force being appropriate, and are they being within the confines of the rules? Are they bending the rules a little bit? Are they being a bit too strenuous when it comes to those with EU status coming into the UK? Are they being too harsh potentially? I think I've only been to one country within the EU since we left Brexit, and it was very simple for me to get through processing. I didn't feel intimidated or anything of the sorts, but I just get this feeling that the article here is just painting this picture that there's quite a bit of hostility from the border force, the way they treat EU citizens. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, and I think it's very important to put that context in, that we don't know that for certain. Is it the case that could it just be the case that the EU citizens perhaps don't have all the necessary paperwork as well? So I think that needs to be put into perspective, rather than just kind of jumping on the bandwagon that the border force are being harsh. They do have a job to do, and we understand that they have a very difficult job to do to make sure they keep out anybody who could be a threat to the United Kingdom. But at the same time, they need to strike a balance between ensuring that our borders are protected, but also not being too harsh on those who are coming in just with the intent of, whether it's holiday, tourism, whatever it may be. So there needs to be a balance struck there with the border force. Yasia Benitez, a graphic designer who is a Spanish citizen, excuse me, was told how she was detained at Luton Airport after returning home to renew her passport. She was apprehended at two border officials who asked if she was coming to work in the UK illegally, despite her showing paperwork stating this person is permitted to work subject to restriction in Section 4, and the word none written in Section 4 on the document. They treated me like I was stupid, that I was coming to work illegally. They told me my paperwork was not valid and I could not work. I had to keep showing them the words that says I'm allowed to work, she said. They were just so rude. Obviously, I was showing them I knew my rights. I wasn't being unpolite or anything. I was just saying to them, I live in the UK, I am working right now, and this is my documents that say I can work. A female border official who did not believe her then called a colleague. He then took one look at my documents and gave me my passport back and said I was free to go. So this this here. Why did it take another? Why was that necessary? If the documents and the information is there to verify it, what more needs to be done? Like, okay, she has everything in place. There's no need to be treating her like that. If that story is to be true, that's unacceptable behaviour, and those border force officials treated her like that need to be told, hey, unless you can prove that unless you can prove that she's working here illegally, you can't be treating people like that. It's out of order. So this is a source from the Home Office. This is Romanian and Bulgarians make up the bulk of refusals at the border. This is refusals from EU 27 countries at the border here. So the red is of Bulgaria, red is Romania, blue Bulgaria, light green, light greenish Poland, Spain, Portugal, Germany, France, and other there. So there's a couple of there. So you can see the most people who are being refused is those from Romania there. Quite a significant proportion as well appears to be Bulgaria as well there. As we're just seeing from, and you just see from the quarters there how much it has transformed since. It's all gone up pretty much since 2020 to now. The graphs obviously have all increased more, whereas before there was very, very little. Romania's just gone off the charts here, so a lot of Romanians seem to be piling in, and a lot of Romanians seem to be coming to the United Kingdom, according to this source from the Home Office here. I'd like to know what's the reason behind it, specifically Romanians. What's that about? Maybe you guys know the answers. Let me know in the comment section down below. Maybe you guys might know. So, freedom for EU citizens to enter the UK to work, live or study or retire ended on 1st of January as a result of Brexit. As part of the deal between the EU and the UK, short-term visits are allowed up to 90 days in any 100-day period. Yes, so one of the things obviously that most of us we should know, of course, is that when we set up the deal, was that it would be at least 90 days allowed between UK's going to the EU, EU's going to the UK period. Up to 90 days in any 100-day, 80-day period. And obviously if they pass that date, they would be, and they were caught, they would basically be in big trouble, shall we say. So there is that on there for most people. However, it emerged in summer 2021 that the discretion border officials had to refuse entry to EU citizens was being applied in a draconian manner, with passengers locked up or expelled. Many passengers admitted to being confused about the post-Brexit rules, but were subjugated to traumatic and humiliating experiences, with one Spanish woman sent to Yarwood's immigration detention centre for 3 days just because she thought she could come to the UK to apply for work. After mounting criticism of the Home Office, revised guidance was given to the border force to issue immigration bail where appropriate rather than detention. Immigration bail would allow citizens to enter the country on the provision that they left within the required 3 months. On October 2021, EU citizens were hit with another travel barrier after the UK government introduced a rule requiring passports rather than ID cards for travellers to the EU. However, those who reside in the UK with settled or pre-settled status before Brexit can continue to use their ID cards until at least the end of 2025. Diplomats in Brussels said they have repeatedly reports of border officials unaware of this exemption for EU citizens already residing in this country. So they're basically trying to stop people from the EU coming into the UK without their ID card. but there are EU citizens within the UK who only have ID cards. And if they go out of the country and try to come back in, they'll be refused entry, even though they've been living and working here for a long period. Yeah, I know. Seems a bit daft, really. Um, I think there was. It sounds like to me there was a severe lack of communication here when it comes to this point here. Romania is still the country with the highest number of citizens refused entry at ports and airports. In 2019, Border Force refused entry to 1,376 Romanians. In 2021, the year after Brexit, that ship jumped to just under 10,000 refusals, dropping just under 8,000 in 2022. In the year to September 2023, the number of Romanians refused entry fell to 5,683, a number that still dwarfs the amount of people turned away from any other EU country. Bulgaria is the second highest increase of refusals since 2019, up from 143 refusals in 2019 to 1,345 in the year of September 2023. The Home Office have said all passengers are treated with respect, adding it was Border Force's number one priority to keep our borders safe and secure, and we will never compromise on this. The spokesperson added officers may stop any arriving passenger for the purpose of further examination whether they are not immediately satisfied that they qualify for entry. This decision is taken based on the information that the passenger provides, not their nationality. Well, hmm, well, we just had a case there, didn't we, about a Spanish citizen coming with all the information, and they're claiming they're treating different. But it was only one example, so we have to put that caveat in there. To be honest, guys. But to be honest, these numbers should not be surprising. But this is just another example of the damage that Brexit has caused, and those coming to and from, it's just more unnecessary work and more unnecessary grief. And we need to make it easier for both EU and UK citizens. More needs to be done to ensure that the most minimal amount of paperwork, the most minimal amount of hassle is done, just for the sake of both sides, pretty much. The UK needs to do more. The Home Office needs to do far more here. That is for sure. And from EU and Brussels' end, I think from their point of view, like they they prepped everything on their end as much as possible for Brexit, and we didn't. That's pretty much it. We just didn't do enough at all, and it's just not been good enough from the Conservatives, as we've said on many occasions. But what do you guys think? What do you make of these numbers? Are you surprised that it's Romania? Are you surprised it's not other countries? Have any of you actually experienced trying to get in and out of the UK from the EU's point of view? Let me know what your experiences was. Did you have any trouble? Let me know down in the comments section below if you did. Hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share across social media and hit that bell notification icon so you'll be notified of when I upload another video. And if you want to financially support me, you can do so by buying me a coffee or joining me on Patreon. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very soon.